It's Jason from drpremed.com. I want to talk to you guys about the MCAT. You're pre-med and you want to go to medical school. You need to get into medical school. And the one thing that you need to do to get into medical school is pass the MCAT. You can't just pass the MCAT. You need to have top scores. I need to talk to you about medical school and that 60% of all applicants get rejected the first time they apply to medical school. And one of the biggest factors that's going to determine whether you get into medical school or not is how you do on the MCAT score. All your extracurricular activities, your volunteering, your GPA, your shadowing, your personal statement, that doesn't matter to AdComs. They're mainly concerned with your MCAT score. If you have a decent MCAT score, then they're going to start looking at all the other aspects of your application to see if you're going to be a competitive candidate for medical school. So you got a big problem. You know you need to take the MCAT, and everybody tells you how tough the test is, but what are solutions that you can actually do to do well on the MCAT? That's what I'm here to give you some advice and information on to help you along the way to get a great MCAT score that's going to allow AdComs to see the rest of your application and give you a fighting chance of getting into medical school. So with the MCAT, I want to tell you something about one of my advisors, mentors, Dr. Bill McDade, an MD, PhD at the University of Chicago, Pritzker School of Medicine, and he said the MCAT's a test you want to take once and only once. You don't want to have multiple attempts with the MCAT. You want to take it and do well and get over with it. But a lot of students, their biggest concern is they don't even know how to get started, how much time to study for the MCAT, or what they should be doing. And when I tell students they need to prepare for the MCAT, I give them a systematic approach to the MCAT. The first thing I tell them to do is you need to take a diagnostic MCAT before you open up any books, before you start studying reviewing, because you need to know where your weakest areas are, and then you need to start attacking those weakest areas first before you have burnout, frustration, and you start procrastinating with your MCAT studies, because I want you to maximize your score in the least amount of time. And the best way to do that is to work on your weakest areas first. And then once you have those areas covered, then you start working on your strongest areas from there. And the overall goal is the MCAT's cumulative. You want to get as many points as possible on this test. So why would you work on something where you only have a little bit of room for improvement, whereas if you work on your weakest areas first, you have a lot of room for improvement and can really see a jump in your MCAT score. So that's the first thing I tell students to do when they're preparing for the MCAT, is to go ahead, take that diagnostic practice MCAT, and then from there I want you to be very systematic in your approach to preparing for each week and how you're going to get ready for the MCAT. I'm a huge believer and proponent in feedback. You need to study actively. If you're just studying, rereading the book, going over notes, that's not going to get you the points that you need on the MCAT. You need feedback. If you do any type of study and you don't know whether you're getting something right, wrong, or if you're making progress, that's not the type of studying you want to do with the MCAT. You need to constantly know, okay, am I getting this problem right? Am I getting this wrong? What piece of information am I missing? How well do I actually know this material? If you're able to do that, then you're able to excel in the MCAT and you have full grasp and command of the material to excel and get a top MCAT score. I have a lot of information I can go into for the MCAT, how you can move ahead and get top scores. But I know as a student you become very frustrated when you're doing problems, you're not making progress, or you feel you're not making progress fast enough. You take practice tests and exams and you look at your score, you're not scoring where you want to be, you're getting things wrong, and you're just trying to figure out what can you do to get better, because you know you have to pass the MCAT. Everybody's drilled in your head how important this exam is for getting into medical school. So what can you do? You don't want to just fish around and look for every solution possible. I know when you get frustrated, you think there's a magic bullet out there that's going to solve all your problems, but that's really not the case. It's going to come down to hard work and having a system in place to do well on the MCAT. You have to be systematic in your approach. You have to make sure you're covering the areas you don't know. You also have to make sure you're covering the areas that you haven't seen before, and then you also need to constantly review the material so you don't forget anything that you studied. If you're able to do all three of these things, then you're practically guaranteed to do very well on the MCAT. And my job is to help you do very well on the MCAT. And to make that a reality for you, I have some solutions. I have a course designed specifically for you for the MCAT to make sure that you get the most bang for your buck in the least amount of time. Because if you're studying for the MCAT, you're a couple weeks into this thing and you're not making progress, or you're not making progress fast enough, that means you're doing something wrong, and that needs to change because you really only have one shot with the MCAT. And I built a course that's going to help you with everything that you need to do to excel in the MCAT, so you take the test once and you get out of MCAT hell and move on with the rest of your life, where you can begin with your personal statement, start applying to medical schools, filling out secondary applications, and have the golden egg come to you, and that would be getting interviews for medical school. That's what my goal and job is for you, and I want to help you get past whatever you're struggling with, whatever's a roadblock in your way to be getting into medical school. And that all begins with excelling on the MCAT. You can't skip around this. The MCAT's not optional. It's a test that you have to take, and you have to do well on it to get into medical school. And I'm Jason with drpremed.com, and let's talk more about how I can help you achieve what you need to do to have a great score on the MCAT and get yourself into medical school. Thank you.